Do it. Okay. Well, this week, since we're in a holiday session, we'll run things just the way we did last week. So all I do is I'm KB0S Dave, and this week we have Scott Newell there, uh, Clint KA7OEI, David McGaw, N1HAC, Phil Karn, K9Q, and Dave Witten, KD0EAG. So last week we had a lot of fun observing Phil's code decoding airplanes around the world. So I don't know if we have anything quite as exciting. I saw a bunch of emails with Scott trying to get K9Q web working, but I don't know,
Oh,
Scott, did
speaking of
you?
which, Scott, I have a pull request for you. Yeah, I make changes in library functions like KNAQ radio, and then I find out the KNAQ web depends on them.
Oh,
So sorry about that.
so
Hey, no problem.
well, that's what people trying different corners makes it's the
Yeah,
best
well,
error
when you don't
detection.
notice somebody is using it, then you break it. That's a
Yeah. It looks like Clint's busy building things. He isn't even gonna say hi.
Oh, I'm here. Yeah, I'm just I'm just working on this as a mid-70s synthesized solid state radio, the very first one that ever came to market in the U.S. for the amateur.
Wow.
which one was that?
CIR Astro 200 made by CIR.
Hmm.
Put it this way, CIR didn't succeed and they were bought by Swan.
Oh,
I remember
So
really lusting over that kind of equipment when it first came out.
in 1977, when my friend bought this, the version without the CW filter was $1,000.
yeah.
This has the CW filter. That's about $5,000 and some change in today's money.
Right.
So, but it's a small 100-watt all mode, synthesized transceiver. He had it in his Jeep for decades, and he passed away a couple of years ago. And I'm just refurbishing it, getting it running again.
It might have a bit of dust in there from it being in a Jeep.
Surprisingly not. It's very well sealed. It has no tuning knob. It has buttons that move it up and down, fast or slow. And the only complaint I remember him mentioning was you couldn't read the display in broad daylight. So, but he had a similar complaint to that of some of the Kenwood radios at the time. There's only like 15 minutes around twilight when you could use it, because in the daylight it was too bright to see the display, and at night it was too dark to figure out where the knobs were. So but this isn't quite that bad because you can kind of feel around on Braille and you get used to where the up and down buttons are. But it's a very interesting radio. It works reasonably well, but it's full of two boards crammed with LSTTL and analog circuits for the synthesizer. No computer inside. So anyway,
That's pretty good.
yeah, it's been fun to resurrect.
I've been studying geography, and I just found a great place for a de-expedition. It's in
Where's
the
that?
Indian Ocean. It's called North Sentinel Island.
Oh,
Yeah, you know about that one?
I don't know about that one, but
Will
I've
you
been
will you get
looking
ki-
at.
will you get killed if you go there?
That's the one, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
I once had a friend put out a notice in an April club issue that they were organizing a de-expedition to North Sentinel Island. Somebody thought they were serious.
Oh,
Yeah.
April 1st.
Yeah. Well, April monthly newsletter.
Well,
I'd like
So
to
what
see somebody.
happens there?
Huh?
What's this about getting killed?
North Sentinel Island is inhabited by one of the last few uncontacted tribes, human tribes in the world. And the reason they're uncontacted is they are extremely defensive of their territory. You go there, you will likely be killed.
Yeah. Well, I read it's actually illegal, according to Indian law, to even attempt to go there.
That's
People
right.
who been shipwrecked there and would-be missionaries to try to convert them have all been set upon immediately and murdered.
Yeah.
So they
A
said,
good
don't
example
go
of the
there.
prime directive in real life.
Yes.
I think some Indian anthropologists tried, but they eventually gave up. So nobody knows how many there are or anything about their language.
Oh,
Huh.
somebody's got to have an infrared satellite that could figure that out.
What is that?
Somebody's got to have an infrared satellite that can figure out how many there are there.
An infrared see through a solid canopy. I mean, the whole island is
force,
densely forested.
Kind of, but I mean, well, maybe not a satellite, maybe
not great.
maybe an aircraft or something.
Well, there's plenty of pictures from the air, but you can't see anything but green. It was right next to the epicenter of the big earthquake in 2004. The whole island was uplifted about a couple meters.
Oh,
Coral reefs around it became dry land. Probably destroyed a lot of their fishing for a while.
I would assume so.
But they're still there. That idiot missionary went in 2018, got killed. So there's obviously still people there.
I wonder how badly inbred they are because they can't have a huge population.
Well, I don't know what kind of population you really need to not be inbred.
I think like 30 or 35, 40 is absolute minimum.
Yeah, maybe more than that.
But then again, I don't know. Well, yeah, but well, let's see. I don't know if you've ever been to central Pennsylvania. I lived there for a few years near State College, and a
You
lot
know how
of
those people call the center of the country flyover country? I used to call Pennsylvania drive-through country because I was always going between Maryland and New York. So yeah, I
right,
crossed Pennsylvania many times.
right. But State College is not too far south of where Nathaniel is. But one of the things is you could honestly tell where a lot of people came from by the way they looked, because a lot of people who lived in the same in the same environs looked like it. Like around State College, the joke was about the people that lived in Center Hall, and my mom was a nurse at the local hospital, and she said that not only do they look the same, but they have things like hemophilia and cleft palate and the recessive genetic diseases to kind of prove that
Oh boy.
over the past 200 years they haven't been venturing far enough away to
Yes.
avoid that sort of stuff. So, but yeah,
Wow.
you could tell someone from Belfont or Center Hall or Bollesburg or somebody like that, Port Matilda, because they kind of looked all similar.
Well, the Sentinelese have been totally isolated for thousands of years. And at the highest estimates are a few hundred of them.
Yeah.
Thinking is they might even be among the first waves of humans that moved out of Africa 70,000 years ago.
Huh. Well, we have two new people. We've got three new people. We've got Andrew and Jim and Rob. So for those of you that weren't here last week, we're just doing kind of an informal discussion. So jump in if you have something to say.
Technically, it would be a rag chew.
Yes.
Yeah.
I see.
I'll
Okay,
have
well,
insight.
I'll always have something to say.
Go ahead.
Of course.
So I wanted to let's see, I'm actually recording floats now, and I hope to be decoding them by tomorrow. So I'm well along that path to finishing that feature. There's been a lot of work going on in the antenna stuff. I don't know that Michael's joined us, but he has been working closely with Glenn. So that's
Yes. And Dave and I have seen at least the little looks like two TV antennas on a T. We've seen that device.
well, that's a field probe, and I
Yes.
have 5 of them, additional ones, and I think they're all spoken for. I just want to finish this 32-bit float, and then I'll be pretty well done with software. I think the major part of software work, and I can turn my attention to field probes and
Yep.
other stuff. So I don't know. We could wander around and talk about things, but I don't think. I'm not sure if, since Phil's here. I haven't been able to use PCM record. I mean, it works, and it produces WAV files, and it decodes. You know, those WAV files do produce spots, but they produce many fewer spots. I mean, like 20 to 30% fewer spots than are produced from the same multicast stream when the WAV files are created by WD record. So
well, Phil just said he put a pull request up, but
he put out what?
Phil, would that affect what Rob's working on? I don't know. Phil just disappeared.
I don't know why. He was working on that.
So I don't know if Rob, did you see the stuff that Scott and a couple other, well, you were in that list, but Phil put a pull request that fixed some things he changed in K9Q radio. And that was today.
That pull request
Somebody
was
call
for
me.
the web. It wasn't for Rob.
What's that, Scott?
That pull request from Phil was for K9Q web to
Yes.
bring it back in sync with his recent changes. It won't affect what Rob's talking about.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been on my test systems, Worcester Redeemment systems. I've been putting I've been just loading the latest main trunk code from you and
Oh.
Phil every time I invoke it. So I've been keeping my code in sync with the latest from both of you.
Good.
Well, I have a request for KNIQ Web, whoever's maintaining it, which I guess is Scott at the moment. At the bottom, that stuff you've added, the numerical stuff, it's variable width. So like when the baseband amplitude is bobbling around minus 100 dB, everything on the right side bobbles back and forth because it's adding an extra place, decimal place, and then taking it away. I don't know how to fix that. It's in JavaScript, I think.
I ran some of that HTML through one of the AIs and got some advice, and it looks a little bit more modern. And I need to go back and tell it about that too and see if it can fix that while it's at it. I've seen that as well. I know what you're talking about. It's the
You know what I'm talking about?
term, I believe.
Just a cosmetic request.
Yeah, there's a lot of white space on the K9Q web page.
Yeah.
I think if possible, it would be nice to minimize, optimize the layout so that you get, as much of the spectrum and use most of the screen space for spectrum.
Yeah.
But those are
I got an idea
cosmetic
for
things.
one addition I think people might find useful is a proper S meter. And in fact, it wouldn't even be an S meter, it would be a decibel meter. What it should do, it should be calibrated in decibels, and the left edge should be N0, and then the current signal level should be the needle bobbing around above it.
Well,
That would be a proper signal strength meter, in my opinion. True signal noise ratio.
so anyway, Phil, if you wanted to look, the only reason I mentioned, I appreciate your work on PCM record. And I don't want to ask you to do any more. It's just that my results suggest there's, errors in the files. Now, it may be those errors may be unique to the.
So my note about the header being confusing decode FT8. Not that.
No. This is this is. I just take socks and I can use socks to concatenate the two files together to create 1 minute files to create a 2 minute file. And that works. The two 1 minute files that are created by WD record, concatenate, and decode very well. And the two WAV files created by PCM record are impaired in some way. I don't know how. I don't know if there's
Lost samples, maybe. It's entirely possible because I'm closing and opening files all the time. I may be losing samples.
Well, they're not sample contiguous or something, or they're
All right.
time offset or something.
I
don't know.
Just thinking I was going to test that.
So I don't know how to test it. I don't know how I can test it. I mean, one would think
I'm just going to listen to WWV with a tone and concatenate them, listen to them, and see if they're glitches.
Okay, well, I mean, as I say, it works pretty well. I mean, it may not be audible. It may be an effect introduced by PCM record that is more perturbing to the whisper decoder than it is to the human ear.
Yeah. Well, yeah, a small loss or loss of timing is going to cause problems. I still recommend just use PCM record to record the length of files that the decoder needs. Please, look, you're already doing all this temporary file copying and slinging files around. You're writing to the disk more than you just did the individual recordings in parallel. Please.
There's a whole bunch of code complications, Phil, one way or the other.
How is that code complication?
And backwards compatibility means that I can't do that for Kiwis. And 80% of the record jobs are on Kiwis. So it's, yes, it's easiest if you were the only source of Whisper recordings and Whisper Daemon. Of the 120 Whisper Daemon sites, only about 25 or 30 of them run your code. So I'd have to have a whole new block of code that worked in a different way with you. And I have mix sites where people mix. I do that at KFS, where there's some channels are coming from some antennas on Kiwis. Some come from antennas that have both Kiwis and 888s. So there's this very rich environment of sources.
All right.
Okay, so that's why that's the simple solution, but it doesn't meet the needs of 80% of the people who are using my program. Okay.
All right.
So and this mechanism works very, very well with WD record. And I have to say that PCM record is wonderful. I mean, it consumes 1/4 of the CPU. I mean, it's almost invisible to watch PCM record all of the streams. So it's a wonderful solution. It's very, very CPU efficient. It just there's something, the way you create the 1-minute files means that they cannot be concatenated as successfully.
All right, I'll look at it. There's something going on.
Okay. So that's anyway. Scott, I'm using your code as well, your version of WD record. Finally, after 6 weeks, I took a major detour into completely kind of revising. One of the things that Phil introduced me to was the use of the iNotify code. So I don't sit there and poll for these 1-minute files any longer. I issue a iNotify, and then which blocks the OS blocks, and then I wake up immediately as soon as the the WD record or PCM record stops recording a file. So it tightens up the synchronization between the whisper daemon decoding daemon and the recording wave file recording daemons. So it's working well. You know, that part, it's all working very well. And you know, I've had to, it recovers from errors and restarts and does all of the stuff that you know, the hard part of it is actually, that's the hard part, is dealing with all the error conditions, which you don't think of a lot of times. But or I didn't, you know, I can't envision. But I have, I think, addressed all of them, and I'm running this new version on 3 or 4 different systems quite successfully. The Orange Pi looks just great as a decode platform. And I think what I saw today, Phil, is that it appears that I was going to say, you know, if I change the destination, instead of being WD dash or whisper dash PCM.local, if I make it localhost, right, or 127.001 or something.
Yeah.
I was thinking, well, what's the port number? But it looks to me from the controller showing me that all of the multicast streams are set to port 5005. Is that correct? Or I think that's what I saw. 5004. Yeah, they're all going
5004 controls and 5006.
Okay. Well, I think that means is that the WD record, PCM record, will, if Radio D sends packets to localhost, which isn't a multicast address, but the listener will be listening on for port 5005, and I believe that those packets will be delivered.
Oh, it has to listen. When you listen to an address and a port together.
Well, let's see. Yeah. Okay. Well, I can do that too. Yeah, that's easy. Wait, I guess you listen to the
session in PCM record. A session is defined by the concatenation of the SSRC,
yeah,
RTP type, the sender of the IP address of the sender, and the port number of the sender. And you won't even get the packet that far unless it is being sent to the per destination address and destination port. So all those things have to match in order for a session to actually get the data.
Okay. Well, I wanted to give that a try because the Orange Pi is working so well out at KFS. There's an Orange Pi out at KFS, and that was where I do my comparisons between PCM record and WD record. I'm running WD record on KFS Omni, and where there's a 888 connected to the Omni. So the 888's, the Radio D's output on there is a multicast output, goes to a decoder on itself on the same server. And that decoder, so it runs, creates wave files using WD record. And then on the Orange Pi, I run your PCM record listening to that same multicast address. So the stream, of course, goes through a switch, but in other respects, the source is exactly the same between the two. So it was kind of interesting to me that what I can see is there's about, maybe you get about 80% of the spots when PCM records creates WAV files. And the SNRs of the spots it gets are almost identical to the SNRs of the.
All right. I'm going to look for some drop samples. I mean,
Yeah.
that's everything's pointing to that. So,
Mhm.
and I do
Okay.
have to take the time of closing and reopening a file while this stuff is still coming in. I might be dropping something.
Okay. Okay. Well, as I say, what WD record is it just counts, packets as soon as it fills up, it gets.
I understand.
Yeah. So it's quite dumb about it. It's very possible it will get out of sync if there's drop packets or.
Oh, I think I just realized what it is. I think I just realized what it is. When you close a file and you let it get recreated, the way the code is written now, it's going to wait for the status packet to arrive, which could take up to 500 milliseconds before it will do anything with the data. That's got to be it. I'll fix.
Okay. Oh, good. But just push it in, check it in, push it in, and I'll get it immediately, and that would be great because it's really lovely to watch it operate, PCM record.
You
operate.
said that. I got it. I'll work on
Okay.
this.
Good. Okay. Well, thank you.
All right.
So one other action that has gone on in the background is that I don't think he's usually with us, but Andrew Rowland offered to do started to investigate PSK Reporter. And so he's created a scraper and a database, a ClickHouse database that scrapes the PSK Reporter database and stores it on a new Whisper Daemon server, WD4, that that will be available. So you can be able to do SQL-like queries on the FT4 and FT8 database in the same way we could do them on the Whisper database. And I was going to approach Phil Barnard, VK7JJ, to suggest that he may want to use that as have an alternative mode for his whisper.rocks website to look at FT4 and 8 packets. And I, with all of the features of his of Phil's website are available, I think we'd have a really powerful new user interface into looking at FT4 and 8 traffic around the world. So anyway, I've had to do almost nothing except fund a couple of servers and get them installed and running. Anyway, that's the other major thing I'm working on. So I'm going to step aside here. I got a little.
Rob, I got one other question for you.
Yes.
Did the Whisper Daemon set up for Antarctica, the German Antarctica base, make it onto the ship?
I don't know. I need to
Cook
talk.
the whole thing and then we can make sandwiches out of it.
Yeah. Okay.
Who are you talking to?
I'm talking to the HamSCI group.
Oh, okay.
So anyway, I noticed the ship is left the south tip of Africa and is transiting down to the Antarctic at this point.
I will take a look at. I'm send Michael a note and see what's going on. He was supposed to travel down there. So
he was on the ship. Okay.
No, I don't think so. The ship goes and then he flies down.
Can you cook while this is going on? Can you do this?
No.
He can listen.
So anyway, that's
but I thought I'd ask about that.
No, it's good thing to ask. I'll send him a note to see what's going on. Haven't heard from him for a couple months. We sent him a bunch of equipment. So, okay, that's it. I'm gonna lurk for a while. I got
Okay.
you get some dinner going.
Okay. Yeah, I was watching the pings from the German polar ship, and it had left. The last I saw it, it had left uh, South Africa and was headed further south. I don't know if David saw that or not. He may be.
You asking me something?
Yes. Did you see the pings from the German polar ship?
No, I haven't seen anything.
Yeah. I seem to get them in their transmissions at my QTH, and so I can watch this series of fairly tight dots traveling down the Atlantic, North and South Atlantic, when they go down and back up.
Hey, Dave Whitten, are you still here?
Oh, which one?
Dave Whitten, are you still here?
Witten? Yeah, Dave
Oh.
Witten's here.
Hey,
Yeah.
I heard back from my sales contact on the Infineon part. It's not good news.
What'd you hear?
The guy, his name is Mike Anderson at Infineon Technologies. He said
Okay.
these parts are to be released in February, so I'm working on an early version of the data sheet. It's available, but currently under NDA access.
Cool.
You know, he's going to get back with me when we'll be able to share it without an NDA.
Wow. Great. Well,
So I've got to find on my calendar to bag him in a few weeks and again in February.
uh-huh. Well, very good. I guess that's really, really appreciate you tracking that down. Um, uh, that's actually very important for moving forward on some other things.
Yeah.
So especially with Tom McDermott and
Well,
Franco.
it's kind of a no answer. You know, yeah, it's under NDA and I'm working on it and it's going to be available soon, but I'm not going to tell you when. So not
Okay.
exactly the most useful info.
Okay, you're a little garbled there, and I have a little difficulty understanding, or I'm going deaf a lot faster than I thought, but there's a lot of evidence of that. But what I gather you're saying is that it's they won't they're not committing exactly, but sometime around in February, they're anticipating uh, some availability of some of those. Is that correct?
That's my understanding from this simple email. Yes.
Good. That's really good to hear. Um, I'm not in a position to, you know, hear much. Well, I tried to put myself in a position, but this isn't a good time of year for me to harass them. So, um, that's good. Tom McDermott will be very interested in that, I think, as will Franco. And that could, because I think there's a good bit of work done already if we just had the right, if we just knew what the timeline was going to be.
And that's the FX10 or the FX
5
or 20?
or 20.
Both.
Both, all of it. Oh, great, great.
I'm trying to get data sheets on everything I can get my hands on.
Uh-huh. Okay, well, if anything you hear, I'm eager to uh to know about. And I've been out of town, but I don't intend to go away for a little while now again. I'm sitting licking my wounds from the last trip, but it's been but I was kind of shifting my focus in that direction. So great, great. Thanks a lot for that information. I'll pass it on with suitable disclaimers and caveats to those guys. Say that at least we hear positive rumblings. So they've got to release it sometime. What else?
So I'll take this moment of silence to let Clint know that I only think you were offline for a day. I get a Bill Engelke's server I've set it up so that it notifies me when it fails to upload the daily upload. Can't hear you, Clint, you're muted. You're muted. If you're talking to us, you're muted, Clint. He's not listening. Must be talking to somebody else.
Ryan,
Uh,
I don't know if I can unmute him.
let's see. Andrew, is that you? Is that Andrew Rowland who's going?
Oh,
Yes, that's it.
Oh, well, good. Well, thank you. Andrew is the one who's responsible for the PSK reporter scraping. And so that it, vastly increases the amount of data, but maybe not the quality of the data, but it'll vastly increase the amount.
oh, that's a different Andrew. That's not
Oh,
me. Sorry. Yeah, I'm Andrew Mady. I drop in and out occasionally as my schedule allows. Sorry about that.
okay. Oh, it's okay. Well, anyway, but everybody else can know that we have this. I earlier mentioned that Andrew Rowland, KC2G, has added PSK recorder scraping, and so there's a full-on database now, queryable database that will be available for looking at PSK reporters. Now the FT4 and FT8 data. So anyway, that was the subject. The other one I was trying to get Clint's attention, but I don't know if you're listening. No.
Okay, I had a phone call. What you're trying to get?
I was just trying to tell you that I don't think your Whisper Daemon server, your /Q server, was probably only down for no more than 24 hours. Because I get
there were no. I mean, when I brought it up. I looked up on the network, and it hadn't spotted anything since the moment the log stopped.
Well,
But there's the -1 that's totally separate, so don't confuse that.
yeah, well, I get notifications when the grape data doesn't arrive. So from all of the grape Whisper Demon grape servers, and yours is one of them. Yours is one of them. So I got an email saying that it didn't get its no data arrived from you last evening. So that's what stimulated. But that was the first. When that happens, most sites I take care of myself, but yours I haven't been.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I actually don't think it was up since Christmas Eve.
Well, it was doing something.
I don't know. It certainly wasn't reporting. Certainly wasn't reporting to WhisperNet.
Yeah,
The last entry in WhisperNet was to the minute the last entry that was in the D message and all that stuff.
Okay, well, I don't know. That stuff.
So probably, yeah. 2151 UTC on Christmas Eve is when UTC is when it fell over and died, apparently. But Brett reported we had a bunch of power hits at the time, and we're thinking that the power supplies on those little laptop type power supplies can't handle transitions as gracefully as a power supply this big with a lot more capacitance in it.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, in general, if I get an email from the PSWS server, Grape server, if I get an email, I will get emails, sometime a few hours after midnight UTC if the data hasn't shown up. So that's what I forwarded to you. So that was the first one I got.
All right. Well, yeah.
So everyone's aware of the antenna effort that's going on with Glenn. Have you guys been following that?
Some of us have, yes.
Because I think he has a full set of candidate sites, but I think the results at Michael's with even the impaired setup that Michael has was that Glenn's antenna was outperforming all the other antennas.
Yes, that's what Michael told us.
Yeah, but Michael's antenna it still had serious problems.
Yeah.
So, but I think that at the end of this, I think Michael's going to be really experienced at how you go about qualifying and optimizing the receive site. And I think that's something that will be a really valuable contribution to the DAISY 2 deployments. I think if you can't monitor the performance of the site, you're not going to get anywhere near the kind of data you'd like to get. But anyway, that's about all I can think of talking about for once.
I'm thinking about have it for you, Rob. I'll be pushing it over shortly.
Okay,
Yeah.
well then I'll try to step aside and give it a try. It's
Yeah.
pretty.
Problem was I was closing the whole session, and then creating a new one required waiting up to 500 milliseconds for for all the session data to come in and for the file to be created. And during that time, it was losing packets. So
Okay, that makes a lot of sense to the
yeah.
diagnosis. And well, that'll be great. I mean, it's easy. I'll run it on the OPI, and then the only thing left I want to try is your unicast delivery. See
Okay.
if I could get I can get the orange bite over. If that works on kind of finish, I can do it.
Okay. Well, we'll see. I'm testing now.
Yeah. Thank you. Did you understand the JT9? Up to JT9?
You're too far. You're muffled, Rob.
I'm sorry. I'm in kitchen duty, so I have to pay attention here. I'll carry this around. The the JT9 decoder. The only the only interface to it is through some. Well, no, the only interface. The unfortunately the interface to it, if you don't go through its shared memory, it doesn't maintain a
I
hash.
understand that. I understand that, but I also want to caution you about using hash tables too much. I mean, if you don't hear a call sign, a full call sign recently, I would not use its hash because of the risk of a collision.
Well,
Only if you've heard the full call sign recently would I make use of the hash. In that case, it means running it each time.
well, the JT9, the Whisper D sites use the JT9 decoder in that way, so they're getting 10 to 15% more decodes that are in the PSK recorder database.
So they might not be real.
They're real. No, most of them are. Most of them are
Is
real.
what I'm saying. I mean, two stations could have the same hash code.
Oh, Phil, I think you should thank me for keeping you out of a very continuing long discussion between Jim, Lil, Uli, Phil, Karn, a whole bunch of people about the phantom or slash false decodes.
I've been hearing about it.
Yeah, well, you're not deep into it, getting multiple emails a day on the subject. But it's Gwen, I think I told you Gwen this morning says he doesn't use it. The major source of false decodes is not the Fano decoder. It's that when the Whisper Daemon runs when JTX, WSJTX runs the second decoder, the OSD decoder. That decoder, Gwen says, always produces a spot data, but a bunch of bits, and then the OSD pass looks in the hash table. If it finds a match, it says, "Oh, this is valid. I got a valid packet." So that's where all the hash collisions are happening. It's doing false. It's getting OSD decoder is looking at the hash table.
You're making my point. You're making my point for me.
Well, it's not that I cannot stop doing it. It's done by WSJTX. The 95% of the receive sites out there that are contributing decodes are using WS.
How big are the hashes? How big are the hashes? What, 10 bits? How many bits?
16-bit. It's a 16-bit hash. There's lots of collisions.
Okay.
And Gwen says because of this, he doesn't use the hashes at all.
Yeah, well, there's a good argument for that. But wait, the hash is 16 bits. Well, then actually, there should be 16 bits. I mean, the birthday paradox says that you would, it's quite possible. You would have a 50-50 chance there being at least one collision when your table gets to about square root of that, or in other words, 256 entries. So and that's actually not unlikely. If you get to 256 entries, there's a 50% chance you're going to have at least one collision between somebody and somebody. That's the well-known birthday paradox. Why hash codes are so large normally. All right, I pushed over the new version of PCM Recorder. Give it a try.
Okay, I will do later this evening.
Oh, I was thinking, Rob, the other day. Are you regarding something at KFS or KPH? Are you waiting for me to do something, or are you, or am I waiting for you to do something?
I think you're waiting for me right
Okay.
now. Oh,
It's been a while, so I wasn't sure where we left it. Okay. Okay.
no, I have a server here at the house, but once I finish this Whiskey Demon 3.3 work, which I think is close to being done, then I was going to
Okay.
move the server out to KFS, and I was going to let you use it. I'll have your own ARX 888 and your own,
Okay. All right. I just wanted to make sure that we were on the singing from the same page on the hymnal.
Anybody want recordings of all the FM channels in Southern California? I got them. I don't know what to do with them, but God, there's a lot of them, even though they don't get used much. There are some repeaters that are a lot more active than others.
I used one of the 2 meter, the 2 meter receiver during a time a storm went by with hail, and it was interesting hearing each of the communities reporting the size of the hail they were getting and when it got there.
Yeah.
So it was a nice tool for that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah. But it was. Oh, damn. Seg faults. I hate seg faults.
Phil, I was going to ask you, although I know your feelings about the RSPs, since they're what a lot of people have around, is what Franco did incorporated in your main
It's
repo?
I haven't tested it. It's in there as a separate make file, but I have not tested it, so it may or may not work.
Oh, okay. Okay. I'll have to try
If
that
there's
out.
anything to fix, let me know.
Okay. I did, before you did did the mem copy, from the main FFT, I was using that on a test machine here on a RSP to inhale the whole 2 meter band, but I haven't tried it since. So yeah. Okay.
All right.
I guess that part hasn't changed a huge amount, I guess, as far as the setup and everything, right?
No,
Okay.
I don't think so. But again, I haven't tried it. And one of the mottos I heard often at work was, if you haven't tested it, it doesn't work.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's
Clint, there's an RSP running at KFS. There's an SDR play running at KFS on I think I forget what the host is. It's an old one of the old A6 hosts.
is
But there's one.
that for 6 meters?
No, that's just I have it as I think right now it's on 10 meters. I was using it to just compare the performance of the SDR play, the AirSpy,
Oh,
and
okay.
888 and Kiwi, so that I wanted to have 4 different receivers being fed the same RF, sitting there running currently on 10 meters. There's the SDR play looks like it's a dB or dB and a half less sensitive than the others. So it's the poorest of the three, but not by a lot.
Right. Yeah. I mean, having measured the RSP, it actually it's capable of having way more gain and lower noise figure than possibly could make sense on HF. But the problem is that the defaults for I mean, the defaults are so extraordinarily bad for, under a Linux environment for whatever driver.
Well, I had the settings are adjusted for your
Yeah.
what your suggestions
Okay.
are. So that's how it's running at KFS. It'd be great if you want to go look at it.
Well, I'd probably have to see a waterfall and connect and disconnect the antenna to see what was going on.
Oh, you could do that. Yeah, I could do that the next time I'm out there. We can use K9Q Web. look at the spectrum.
Right. I mean, the likelihood of there being too much gain or too little is there. Um, the the yeah the people that designed the RSPs put way too much gain in the system. So in order to make it run reasonably on HF, you have to throttle things back an awful lot. And that we run them out northern Utah, and even on 10 meters, we have to throttle them way back, even if there's no active gain in front of anything. I mean, like on the order of 30 dB, we have to throttle them back. So yeah.
I vaguely recall there was some default that was like 10 dB or something and minus 10, and I've turned it down to minus 50 or something to
Well,
get. So
yeah,
it was a big difference, a big change from the default. That's I don't remember the exact number.
yeah, there's an attenuator setting and they call it gain reduction, which is why the hell they don't call it attenuation, I don't know, but they call it gain reduction. Because I mean they all the measurements assume that you start out at 0, which is a stupid useless amount of gain on any band. I mean, you're just gonna clip your A to D converter all the time. And for typical HFUs, you need a gain reduction of 45 dB, and you probably need to set the the LNA setting needs to be throttled back by like 12 dB. But one of the problems is that I think in the default Linux driver that they supply, the LNA is set so badly, you need like a negative 86 as the minimum discernible signal. So I've done plenty of correspondence with people saying that, oh, the RTL, I mean, the RSP doesn't work at all under Linux, and I have to say, not so fast. It's just the hard coded defaults in the example program that they themselves supply are just totally useless. So yeah. Oh well.
Discovering it pays to check your arguments. It really does.
Hey, I'm gonna ask, I need to go and I have the recording on. Do you want me to leave the recording going or turn it off? And if you want to leave it, would somebody be responsible for turning it off?
I don't think you should. I think you should turn it off. I don't think this
Okay.
needs to be memorialized.
Okay. I will do that. I have to go and I'll see you guys next week.
I'm going to head out to